Lee Davis and Gwilym Roberts are the two IPs in a pod, and you are listening to a podcast on intellectual property brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys.
Hey Gwilym, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. Nice to see you the other night.
Good day. What have you been up to recently? Anything exciting? Been in any interesting IP events?
I was going to say I rushed through the presidential reception the other night. It looked like a fantastic evening.
Yeah, the welcoming Bobby as the 118th, I think it is, president of SEPA. Yeah, it was a nice evening. All of the great and good of IP were there.
Good turnout. How long did it go on for? Was it a big night followed by an after party, the usual?
Do you know what? Unusually, there wasn't a lot of afters, so I think it ran for a couple of hours, and then people just very gently drifted off into the night to wherever they needed to go. I went to the pub, obviously.
I should think so. It's a very august group. They probably had to go home and think IP thoughts.
Definitely. Yeah, there were some very important people there. Anything else interesting? You're not in the UK at the moment, are you?
I'm in Spain.
Are you hibernating?
Well, do you hibernate in Spain? I'm just in Spain. I'm being in Spain.
Okay.
But it's actually quite nippy, so I've got my fleece on because the house isn't heated. Because it never gets cold in Spain. What are you talking about? Except for 8 months of the year, basically. It's a bit nippy.
Is that for a bit of a break, family stuff, or what are you up to?
But yeah, because I think Lydia is Spanish. I think you know that, and Beth therefore needs to see her abuelita, and she's just because she's grown up speaking Spanish as well as English. She's basically just around the corner living and just chatting to grandma at the moment, just speaking Spanish the whole time.
I was going to say, how's she finding the bilingual thing? Is it just entirely children? I guess it's just natural, isn't it?
It's amazing to watch. It's interesting how she gets her grammar, as in the kind of the actual grammatical structures mixed up. So she'll say,
"Oh wow!"
So in English, she'll say, "It's mine, the red one," kind of thing, which is sort of how you might say it in Spanish, I think. And in Spanish, when you do verbs in Spanish, if you say I eat, you don't say yo como, you just say como. You don't bother with the yo because it's kind of implicit. You can work out the subject. In English, she says obviously I eat, but now in Spanish she says yo como, which is I eat correctly. But Spanish people don't ever say the yo bit. So she's using English grammar in Spanish and Spanish grammar in English. It's really interesting. It suggests that in your head, the vocabulary is in one place and the grammatical structures in another one.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch.
And I know we need to get our guest on. And interestingly, he comes from a part of the world where, again, they speak it in an entirely different way. So that'll be perhaps an interesting topic. But does she? She's probably too young to ask her this question. But does she think in English or Spanish?
She dreams in Spanish. So when she talks in sleep, it's in Spanish. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
But, she can switch, and she also knows what language she's on. So she says, she says, "I'm going to speak to you in Spanish now, Dad," which is great because I can't understand her. Which I think she quite enjoys. So she flips into, and she'll do it. She'll call me Daddy in English and Papa in Spanish. So she'll start with that word, and that triggers her. Then it's amazing to watch. Actually, it's really cool.
We need to find someone who's big on IP and language, don't we? To come on and have a little bit of a conversation about this. That would be absolutely fascinating. Unfortunately, we've not got anyone like that today, but we have got someone who's really big in trademarks. Probably as big in trademarks as is possible to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Keven Bader, Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Trademark Attorneys. Hey, Keven, how are you? You all right, mate?
I'm good, thank you, Lee, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
This has been a long-time ambition of mine to get you on the podcast, so we've managed it at last.
Yeah, I'm only slightly disappointed that I didn't get the pub invite version of it. But I guess if Gwilym's in Spain and you're down near Portsmouth, then it's a bit difficult.
So what we'll do, we'll get another pubcast sorted, and we'll get perhaps you and your prez on. We'll do a sort of SITMAR organisational one rather than a SITMAR chief exec one, so that we get you in the pub.
Sounds good. You do know our president; she only drinks champagne, so just to warn you.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, you'll be footing the bill anyway, so it doesn't matter.
As usual, then.
So for me, this is quite interesting because you two are probably two of the, I won't say the oldest people in IP that I know, because you're not, well, Gwilym's quite old, but you're not, Keven. But the people I've known the longest in IP since I joined SEPA sort of just over 13 years ago. So it's lovely to have the two of you together.
I hadn't realised I had that accolade, Lee, actually.
You dragged me off to Kilburn and Strode within the first few weeks after I started to spend some time with you and look around the office and meet people and stuff like that. So yeah, so on the super, and I think I met Keven at the only MOJ. What was the review of the LSB used to be called? The
Triennial review.
Triennial review, yeah. Which again was in my first few weeks at SEPA, and I didn't have a clue what was going on. Fortunately, another one never happened, so I didn't have to worry about reviewing the LSB ever again.
I only had the pleasure of doing 2 triennial reviews, so yeah.
So let's start with longevity. How long have you been at SITMAR now?
So I have been at SITMAR for 16 years. So I'm now into my 17th year in November. It will reach 17 years. So it's been a fair while, and we've seen a lot of change that's taken place during that time.
It's a longish gig, isn't it?
It is, and I know that lots of chief executives in membership organisations, come in for a few years, turn things around, and then disappear. But I'm one of those rare ones, probably, that's been there a long time. Although, with you at 13 years, I think we're both in that same position. So.
I'd always said to myself that the SEPA gig was like a 5 to 7 year stint, and I've just never left because they're not bad jobs, are they?
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing about the role at SITMAR. It's just fantastic. I love the job, love the people. The profession is a wonderful profession. So I feel very privileged to be in this position. And while you're enjoying it, why leave?
No, I'm exactly the same. I mean, first of all, I think there's no more exciting world than IP to work in. I mean, others would argue differently about the areas they work, but for me, it's just about as good as it gets. And yes, the people are amazing, aren't they?
It's all about the people, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I stumbled into IP, so I don't know about you, Lee, whether you had interest into it. But...
That was the bit that I wanted to unpack. I wanted your kind of origin story. Give us your origin story.
Yeah, and I don't want to just sort of go through my whole CV or anything like that. So interrupt and ask questions. But my background is I was born in Newport in South Wales, which you referred to as previously, and I came out of university with a sports science degree. And as many do when they come out of university, it's I have no idea what I really want to do now. So it happened that in Newport, there's a passport office and a patent office, which is now called the Intellectual Property Office. So my first bit of work as a civil servant, so to speak, was at the passport office, which was granting new applications for passports and renewals. And I was going to ask you a little quiz for you, because there was one celebrity passport that I got to renew, 1980s music icon, which, having listened to your podcast with Chris McLeod and Jerry Bridge Butler, I know that both of you are passionate about your music. And I think you said, Lee, there's no good music after 1992. So hopefully in the 80s, you'll be well versed on pop icons. But whose passport do you reckon it was that I renewed?
Howard Jones.
Incorrect.
Did you say Howard Jones? Where did that come from?
He's my 80s icon. What do you love anyway?
That's what I was trying to uncover, is who is your icon. So now I know Gwilym is Howard Jones.
So we're looking for an 80s. Did you say that we mentioned him on that podcast, or
no, you didn't?
Or
no.
her? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Oh no, there are so many 80s. Where possibly would I go?
I know it's a bit harsh, but I just thought you got one guess, and then we can move on.
Oh, all right then. Okay. Paul Young.
No. Rick Astley. Never going to give you
the ultimate.
Yeah.
There was only one. Of course, there was only one 80s icon. Rick Astley.
It's the first time we've been rickrolled on the podcast as well.
There you are. You can just plug the music in there on that point, and we can go. Anyway, that was my claim to fame working at the passport office. Anyway, I then joined the intellectual property office as like an administrator, because it was in Newport. So I didn't really know anything about IP at the time, and I joined their trademarks law section. So it was processing oppositions filed against applications, trademark applications, and processing defences filed by applicants when an opposition is filed. And basically, I just kind of worked my way through that department in various different roles. So I was also a casework officer, where you're dealing with the evidence coming in and processing it. I was in charge of the hearings and appeals section, in scheduling hearings and sending cases to the appointed person who considers appeals against the registrar. And eventually then I ended up being the head of the trademark law section, which was quite unbelievable, having gone in at the administration grade. But I have another question for you, because as we're talking about
hang on. The podcast is not meant to work like this. This is
This is what I thought. This is what I thought.
We need someone to prepare for these podcasts. We're gonna have to do it again.
Because we were talking about celebrities, and that one of the conversations that I had with someone about an opposition case was with a very famous person called Simon Fuller, who you may know as a British entrepreneur, music mogul.
Spice Girls?
Spice Girls, yeah. So my question to you is going to be, could you name the act that he was seeking a trademark registration for that wasn't the Spice Girls?
Oh, damn.
And this is hard. This one is hard because they didn't become a success.
Give us date range.
1996.
And they didn't become a success.
It depends what you class as success, but I'd say in Simon Fuller's books, it probably wasn't a success. He told me they were going to be bigger than the Spice Girls, biggest band ever.
E17.
All Saints.
Girl group. Gwilym.
All Saints.
No.
Still a girl group.
Still too good.
Girl group. E17 isn't a girl group. I know that. Okay. Sugar Babes. That's too recent enough. I don't need girl groups. I don't need groups.
Shall I tell you?
Yeah.
21st Century Girls.
Never heard of them.
Me neither. But if you go and look it up and search for them, there's a dead registration for 21st Century Girls.
So why did that fail? Why did that fall?
I think he let it die because they changed their name, I think, and then disbanded, and it wasn't really worth it for him anymore. But
that's quite interesting, isn't it, that you say that? Because, of course, we had your Chris McLeod on the podcast to talk about exactly that sort of brand and protection and those kinds of things. And I think what we learned on that podcast with him and Jerry Bridge Butler was that people just didn't used to do this. So that was that unusual? Presumably?
Not necessarily, no. I think what was more unusual is that Simon Fuller was taking the time to call about the the opposition and how it was ridiculous and how he should be allowed the application. Where you would expect it to be an attorney who was calling or someone else. So he obviously felt it was worthwhile giving us a call in the office.
So I think we've sort of come to the end of your time at the IPO, have we? Is it sort of?
Yeah.
Are you going to move on?
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
So what did Sitmar come headhunting? What happened?
So basically, I went to the central government. So kind of moved to London, went to what was the Department of Trade and Industry, and I was parachuted into a policy pool, as they called it, where you would go off and do certain policy projects. And I actually worked in employment law area. So the first piece of policy that I was working on was a policy to create more opportunities for fathers to care for their children. And I was responsible for developing additional paternity leave and pay and taking the bill through Parliament that then became the Work and Families Act 2006, I think it was. And as you may be aware now, there is shared parental leave, which has been kind of the fallout from that is now in place and is used, I think, by many. So it's a really good thing to see come through. So that was fascinating to actually take legislation through Parliament and deal with all the different government departments to try and get the right policy in place. And then I went and worked on a project to enhance the ACAS helpline. So ACAS is the Advisory, Conciliation and Arbitration Service, which provides employment law advice to employees and to employers. And so we made their helpline. We created 3 super hubs, and there was a multi-million-pound project investing in technology and training for them. So it was completely outside of IP, nothing to do with that, but it was really good, interesting projects. And then in 2008, I got approached was I interested in this role with ITMA, the Institute of Trademark Attorneys, and I'd been aware of the organisation when I was at the Intellectual Property Office. I'd attended various conferences, spoken at conferences about changes, in the trademark law and practice that was coming up. Many meetings with people from ITMA. So I knew about the organisation, and as it was about 10 years in the civil service, I thought, why not? Now's the time to have a look at it. So I went through the process, and for their sins, they appointed me as their first chief executive, and started in November 2008.
No, I'll let you speak in a minute, Graham. Don't worry. So, so I did a little thing with SEPA Council a couple of weeks ago now, where I told them we were doing a little we had a dinner and we were doing a little bit of strategy thinking and stuff like that. And I told a story about what I felt when I first walked through the doors of SEPA and learned sort of the kind of organisation it was then, really to help them understand how it went on to become the organisation it is now. What did you find? What was the ITMA of 17 years ago?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock because I didn't really know what to expect. I'd say I knew about the organisation and I'd had lots of interaction with the attorneys, some of the attorneys, the presidents. But when I walked in and sort of got under the bonnet, it opened up the whole world of membership and some of the things that you need to think about member retention, member engagement, member benefits. And, there were things that I couldn't really understand why things were being done that way. So there was a lot of things that we could change to further professionalize the organization. So it quickly showed that there were lots and lots of opportunities to take forward both the organization and the profession, which was quite exciting. But I hadn't really appreciated that kind of membership side of it, which maybe I should have done. But when you're a civil servant, just dealing with attorneys who are complaining because you won't grant them an extension of time in proceedings is slightly different to what they're getting out of their membership of a August Institute.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because membership engagement is probably one of the toughest parts of our jobs, but also where the real sort of reward is. That's what makes it the job that it is.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's always a challenge to think of new and innovative things that you can do to encourage that engagement to maintain and to make sure that members are getting value out of their membership, and in particular for us.
Would you like to cross-examine?
So I'm letting you two roll this. Don't worry. Go. I want to hear. What you think the job is.
Are you okay with me carrying on for a bit?
Yeah, of course.
What things did you want to change first? What were the sort of 2 or 3 things that you thought, I got to get to grips with this? And that isn't to say that things were kind of wrong previously, but what were the priorities?
In fairness, the council of the organisation had set a couple of big projects that they were keen for work to be done on. So one was moving the office from Croydon back into central London, which was it's not a big office, but it was still a lot to think about in terms of doing that, and whether the staff would come with or whether some wouldn't, and all the difficult things that you've got to think about in that situation. There's also kind of finishing the setup of the independent regulator, IPREG. So the Legal Services Act was about to come into force, and kind of the foundations of IPREG was there, but it was trying to make sure that those were in place, and there's quite a bit of work there. And the other big project was separating out the qualification route. So it was decided that using universities, academia for qualification was the way forward. So there's a little bit of work to kind of set that up, particularly with Nottingham Law School, putting in the practical side of becoming a trademark attorney, applying the law in a practical way. That course, we did some work in developing that. So they were pretty big projects when you've just walked in through the door.
Yeah, that's quite a lot to get your sort of mind straight off.
I will ask something then, which is, this is to both of you. I don't normally do this. To both of you, do you think you have similar jobs?
I'll let Lee go first on that one, seeing as I've answered the questions.
So if and you could ask this of any chief exec of any, I'll say professional body rather than membership association, because there is a distinction between the two. I think if you ask the chief exec of any professional body, 2 professional bodies, whether they've got the same job, we do the same things. Absolutely, yeah. We are the sort of like the pinnacle leadership position for the professional body. We've got an eye on governance, we've got an eye on staffing, we've got an eye on the finance side. Yeah, our bag is the same bag, if you like. What makes the job different is the peculiarities of the profession and the challenges the profession faces, for me. So in terms of a job description, we've got the same job. In terms of a job, we've got very different jobs. I think I would answer it that way.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think there's some nuances within it. In terms of talk about governance, even if you just look at SEPA and SITMA and the presidential terms and term council and things like that, they're all slightly different, and you have to do things in a potentially slightly different way. But generally speaking, yeah, the job description would be considered the same. Do you fancy it, Gwilym?
Oh, I tell you what, the diverse backgrounds people come from into it, it's quite attractive. People come from all over the place into the job, and it obviously requires an unusual skill set, which I probably don't have because I could just do patents and nothing else, basically. And no, I think dealing with members, I'm a member. I know I wouldn't want to deal with members.
You've seen the kind of context and the background of dealing with members, haven't you? I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and in their defence, because they're listening, they're great. We love you.
And they're amazing. Yeah, I'm absolutely amazing.
But you get the anger. Sometimes you get anger, and sometimes it's not always. There's not fully researched anger, and I think that must be quite difficult to deal with. And I've seen Lee picking up that occasionally and thinking, I don't think there's anything wrong there, but you get quite.
And I think the other thing is that your professional body will mean different things to you at different times, and you want different things from it. So I think sometimes it can come with a sense of frustration if you don't think it's really delivering on the areas that are important to you at that time in your life, in your profession. And I think that's what makes the job hard sometimes, trying to be all things to all people. But it's also what makes the job interesting, because it's not until a member kind of rings up or emails you and says, "Oh, you're not doing anything about this," that you realise you should have been doing something about something. So sometimes the very best conversations are the ones where people come at you because they think that you're not delivering, and then you realise it's something you should be delivering.
Even if you do membership surveys to your death, you'll still find things that members still want, and it's just working out whether or not it's what all members want or a vast majority of them. One of the things interesting I've found about coming into this and into the profession of membership is where some chief execs have that background within the profession that they're looking after. They might be qualified, but many aren't. And it's an interesting dynamic between whether it's more beneficial or not to, and something that I think is discussed quite a lot in the membership world.
It's an ongoing debate, isn't it? I didn't have a clue about the law, let alone IP, when I came to CIPA, and I used to sort of examine myself. Am I doing the right thing? This seems to be an entirely ridiculous thing for me to do, to come to this organisation where I don't know the people, I don't know the profession, I don't know the issues, the problems, the challenges.
You would have thought after 13 years things had changed, Lee, but
13 years and 150 podcasts on the topic. Yeah. I'm going to carry on this edition of One IP in the Pod and interview my two guests, CEOs of membership organisations. So, I know you obviously collaborate where you can. Do you think you collaborate as much as you should? Do you think there's more collaboration available for you guys, or do you tend to kind of get on the phone as soon as you need to?
I'm going to let Keven go first this time.
Yeah, I think we do. Over the time that Lee's been at the organisation, I think we've built up a really good, strong relationship. I have his WhatsApp. I can WhatsApp him with anything, and he'll normally reply, and vice versa. I think we're quite good at identifying things where we could collaborate, where there is a different approach needed potentially. So for me, the balance feels about right. I always thought, when I came into the profession, why are the two organisations? What's the difference between them? But over the years, you kind of understand those differences and different approaches. But I think, Lee and I, we have a good relationship.
Yeah, definitely, and it's on different levels, isn't it? So I think we've gotten to know one another quite well. So we have a good, I think, sort of personal relationship. I think we've got a great professional relationship. You're right. We do have those little conversations on WhatsApp when something comes up and we perhaps need to bounce something. But we also do it formally, don't we? We meet, and it's not just there are more than two parties in this marriage, Gwilym, because we've got IPRIG as well. Don't forget. And I don't know whether IPRIG is our recalcitrant. I can't even say the word child. Or is now just one of the other partners in the relationship. But so Keven, Fran Gillen, and I meet regularly. So it's bigger than a SITMAR SIPA thing. We include IPRIG in that.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different relationships. There's the regulatory relationship that we have, and then the membership body and relationship that SIPA and SITMAR have. But we have a good personal relationship. I'm still waiting to have the squash match against Lee to just show him how great I am compared to
anytime. I'm off to play squash after the podcast. So I'll get myself in training and we'll do it.
Trouble is, when I play squash, I can't walk for about 3 days afterwards. So yeah, I need to do some training probably.
This IP smackdown. I can see it coming. Just carrying on with my interview, I'm enjoying this. So yeah, lots of commonality, and obviously IPREG is this kind of a joint venture in a sense. How did you find yourselves actually representing disparate interests or different? No, I don't know, competing interests, should we say? You ever find
What a
yourself
great question. Have we had many?
Yeah, I'm not sure competing interests necessarily. I mean, I'll be quite candid, we always look closely at what SEPA's doing on its events and sort of look at, well, why are they doing an event on that particular topic? Where are they going with their events? How many members are they getting? What's sort of happening? But it's not necessarily because we see them as a competitor, more that we can learn from them. And actually what we've done recently is, I know that many of the SEPA staff have come to SITMAR events and SITMAR staff have gone to SEPA events, so we can kind of learn from each other, best practice and things like that. So yeah, I've not really come across anything hugely competing necessarily.
So it wasn't competing, but we did have a bit of a sort of a policy dance around ITMAR's charter application before it became SITMAR. There were kind of conversations to be had there around protection of title and how that would read across and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say it was particularly, they weren't competing interests, were they? It was just trying to make sure that they were complementary.
Yeah, and if you could sort of use that as well in terms of the new delegation agreement that we put in place with our regulator. There were certain things that SITMAR needed to see in there, and SEPA had a slightly more relaxed view on it. So yeah, not necessarily competing, but just
because the membership profiles are quite, I think, have drifted away from each other. I'd say a little bit. I'm not saying this necessarily is a ground for competition or conflict, but the membership profiles, I feel, as a SEPA still really is a mix of private practice and in-house. The mix, the percentages change, the mix kind of doesn't change massively. Whereas on the trademark side, I feel like over the years, it used to be more, a lot of trademark attorneys were with patent firms or specialist trademark firms, whereas over the years, there's a lot more solicitor representation now. Is that fair?
Probably not. No, I think we've still got kind of the equal distribution of trademark attorneys in private practice, trademark attorneys in industry. But there are, solicitors. We have a specific category of allied membership for those who are other lawyers, barristers, solicitors, and that has grown over the years a bit. So maybe it's slightly edged, but not in any significant numbers.
Oh, so, okay. Maybe that's just my perception. Okay, I think there's always this. Well, we have this. We're always talking on the SEPA side. Even the mix of two basic constituencies means you always have to be thinking about all your members and not just representing a specific business interest, as it were.
Definitely. And I think, like I think Lee was saying the other day, with Bobby coming in as president from industry, how does that change the dynamics? We've had a couple of presidents who have been in industry. We didn't notice any huge change in the dynamics or things that we were thinking about, but it's definitely a consideration that you have to give.
Thanks. Sorry, Lee.
Hey, done, Gwilym? Can I come back in for a bit?
Yeah, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you should do it more often. Ask questions, means it's quite good to watch your brain work. So what's on the future radar, Keven? What are SITMAR's challenges of the day?
So one of the big things that you're well aware of that we've been doing a bit of work on over the last couple of years is around rights of representation before the UK Intellectual Property Office and the rules that are currently in place on address for service. There's been a change in the filings, in particularly in trademarks, but also in designs, where we're seeing a lot of what's been termed unusual marks, or we like to call them QWERTY marks, because it's just random letters from a keyboard that are being filed predominantly from Chinese-based companies. And
so these look a little bit like those names of companies that you see on Amazon that are or whatever, just a random string of letters.
Random string of letters. And our concern is, what is the purpose behind that? What is their genuine use of the trademark? Is this causing problems? We believe it is, to the UK trademark system. So we've been trying to work with the Intellectual Property Office to do a bit more investigations into what is this? Do they recognise the phenomenon of QWERTY unusual marks, and can they uncover the reason why they're being filed and the effect that it's having on the UK system? And so far they've confirmed yes, there are these unusual marks being filed, but they're still investigating what's actually happening. But I think the interesting thing for me is if you look at the statistics on trademark filing, top filers of trademark applications before the UK IPO, there's been a huge shift in your usual firms who are regulated to the top 10 being swamped by unregulated representatives of random companies that are have an address in the UK but are not necessarily based in the UK. So it's been a big shift, and we need to uncover exactly what's happening and if it's causing problems.
That brings the other member.
I was about to say something. I forgot what I was about to say then.
Oh, that's fine. I can tell. I just said anything more than the 10th of a second, one of us is there. That brings in the other member of this ever-growing relationship group, which of course is the IPO. I think that's the where does the IPO fit in? The IPO is the clergyman of your surreal marriage. There you go.
You're verging on the ridiculous.
Oh, here we go. I think you want to alter what you just said. Thank you. Let's just keep it going.
I can leave this podcast if you carry on with jokes like that.
What's my question? Yeah, no, that's another kind of joint venture kind of partner, as it were, in this lovely journey is the IPO itself. And I guess there, to a certain extent, you talk to different bits of it, and obviously, Kevin, you've got a lot of experience there anyway. But at the top, it's the same people. So I guess again, there's another area for collaboration and working together. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we try and work closely with Adam Williams, the chief executive at the IPO, and all the senior management. And there's lots of really good people at the IPO. So collaboration is good. And we have a president's group meeting where 4 or 5 presidents, director generals, or CEOs have a regular meeting with Adam and senior people. So there's good opportunities to engage with them on strategic level and also on operational levels as well. So rights of representation is a big one for us that our members have said it's the number one priority, and so it's what we're continuing to do. The knock-on effect of that is obviously for individuals, encouraging them to use a chartered trademark attorney for advice before filing applications, or if they get into difficulties, get into oppositions or contentious proceedings. So we're doing quite a lot of promotional outreach work as well, trying to work with the intellectual property on some of their initiatives around supporting SMEs. And then the other challenges, I suppose, upcoming, I've got to say it, AI and emerging technology, keeping an eye on what's actually happening with that. So we've just set up a brand new AI and technology committee. We met with IPREG yesterday, actually, to have an initial conversation from their kind of ethical regulatory point of view. But we want to be upskilling the profession to make sure they're understanding AI and considering how best to use it in the most appropriate manner to help service their clients. And then the final one for me, I suppose, is the UK IPO's transformation program. They've finished they're finishing phase 1 of them on the patent side. For those who can't see Lee, but he's smacking his head against the table at the moment. But they're supposed to go into phase 2, which is trademarks and designs. There's been a few delays, but we want to be right on top of what's happening there to make sure that it's fit for purpose for the profession. So they're probably my main challenges.
So can I do the legacy question then? Is that okay? If we go there. Have you got your legacy yet, Kevin, or is it yet to come? Have you got your one big achievement that will define your time at SITMA?
I suspect I have. It's probably.
I thought you might have.
Yeah. I was wondering when you'd ask. It was probably getting the charter, the Royal Charter. There'd been a project that had failed a few times, I think, before I came on board, for various different reasons, not through the want of trying. but it was clear that this was something that the profession wanted, and so it was an unbelievable project to be part of and to kind of lead, with a couple of key people from SITMAR. But to get that and to be able to allow our members to be called chartered trademark attorneys, it raised the profile of the profession, it raised the standards. Same for the organization as well. We now feel we have a bigger profile and a better status within the profession. So it was really good. And it was such an unusual project as well, because I didn't really know what to expect when you first have conversations with the Privy Council, and there's all these processes and procedures to follow. And when you find yourself on a tube to West London to go and meet the calligrapher who's in his loft scribing on vellum, which is calf skin, the actual charter, and seeing the gold leaf being placed on it. And it's, just those are things that you not come across for many people in their lifetime. So when we were actually fully granted it and changed from ITMAR to SITMAR in 2016, it was a wonderful achievement. And there was one thing actually I was going to say, because I was thinking about this before the podcast. I think it's the only time Lee's ever told me he's cried, which was at our ceremony where we unveiled the charter. And he said it was because it was something I said in a little speech, but I can't remember what it was. But I do
remember the moment. I remember the moment. Yeah, I think in part it was because I just knew how much work it was for you. I mean, I then got to experience it in small part myself when we did our bylaws review in 2017, 2018. It was difficult enough getting a revised set of bylaws through the Privy Council. You do your praying to sort of people in tights somewhere that you never see. It's that you've got to hope that you get the Lord Privy Seal, which I've always imagined is some big sea cat creature kind of sat at the end of a table clapping its fins, if they've got fins together, or some such thing. It's it's a tough gig, isn't it? And I think that's probably why I got quite emotional at your event when you effectively launched, was because I knew how much work that would have been.
Yeah, and I don't think until you look back and reflect on it of how much actually was involved and how difficult it was. But it was great because we worked hard with SEPA and other organizations who had an interest to kind of align everyone that this was a good thing. And that was a big challenge in itself. So to get everyone agreeing that it would be of benefit to have chartered trademark attorneys, that was the first hurdle that we had to overcome. And then the rest was kind of a bit of formalities, but like you say, knowing that the Privy Council never sit and there's I imagine a circle of people stood with the Queen in the middle, as it was then, maybe the King now. It's just bizarre. But so that should be my legacy. But maybe there's something else in the pipeline.
So something else might come along, some great policy challenge or some existential threat or some such.
I've never asked Lee that question actually. About legacy, Lee. What's yours? What would you like to be?
My SEPA legacy.
Oh, well, blimey. Okay, can we come back to you after this one? Yeah, your SEPA legacy.
I've had more than one job, so I hope I get multiple legacies.
Fair point.
I don't know. I'd like to think there is still something around the corner that's going to tax me and challenge me, and that might be it. CPTPP was a biggie for us, obviously, because it wasn't just the fact that it was an enormous amount of campaigning, influencing work to try and deliver the result that the profession would want in terms of the UK joining the CPTPP, but we did it during lockdown. But we did it during a time when all of the normal avenues weren't open to you, and it was sort of silly o'clock at night conversations with overseas sister organisations. And then one of the things that I got was I met with quite a lot of peers. MPs, not so bad. But peers, when you meet with them online, invariably you just see the tops of their heads and a bookcase behind them, because they had no idea how to use this new technology that they had to sort of still exist in a world that was confined to your bedroom or wherever it was. So Lord so-and-so was just a forehead. And so I think CPTPP might be it, or perhaps I'll leave SEPA in a better position than the way I found it, and that might do it for me, actually.
I did think, Lee, that CPTPP was a big achievement, and I know that you worked very, very hard on it. And I heard a lot of positive stories from your members and others about the way you approached it and how you got it into a safe space. So I think it shouldn't be underestimated what you did there.
Yeah, it was a big gig.
You didn't cry though, did you? Oh,
no, I did. I did actually cry.
Not you, not you. I guess.
Oh, Kevin, no.
I did, but just in private.
One of those nights.
Stop texting me, Lee.
Yeah, no. When I got my little notification, because obviously we knew before it became public, shared under an NDA, that we'd done it. So you can't tell anybody, and you just sit there. It's like, it's done. It's done.
Do you have a legacy then, Gwilym?
Oh God.
Blimey. When did this start?
Do you know what? We've accidentally done the closer question.
I know, we actually just counted as the closer. It's funny. I think I'm really happy with all the things that I've been involved in over my career. But actually, the one I want is definitely yet to come, Lee. And I definitely want actually involved with both of you on it, which is to get that innovation economy thing going in the UK the way it should, with the support from the IP experts that's definitely here. That's something I kind of want to spend the next few years on, basically, because I think it's a huge challenge for the UK, and we are world leading experts in innovation and creativity. So I haven't got one yet, but that's what I'd love it to be.
That's quite a big one.
Could be ambitious.
Think big. Always think big.
He's going to be president. That's going to be his legacy.
President of what? SEPA? Or?
The world.
Well,
so I think we're about there time-wise. We've done our 40 minutes or so. So that's good, which means that you are quite interesting. You're officially quite interesting because you've managed to get past 40 minutes.
okay.
Gwilym, did you have a closer? Had you thought about anything else that we might do to close the show? Because it feels like we've sort of done it.
I think
you happy with that one?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I was going to go somewhere down the musical instrument line, because I know that both of you guys are accomplished guitarists and I'm not. So I was perhaps going to go down that line. But I say both of you guys are accomplished guitarists. I think Kevin is.
Yeah. I have no pretense about my ability on the guitar, don't worry.
I was trying to look up Genius Id because I wanted to know.
You won't find it.
I couldn't find it.
No, do you know what? Somewhere in one of my friends who I've not seen since I was a late teenager, early kind of 20-year-olds, are going to have a tape, an old cassette tape, in a bedroom somewhere. That is the last sort of relic of the Genius Id.
I managed to find an old tape of our band, and my friend, or the ex-drummer of the band, he works in music production and things. So he's got all the equipment that can convert it into proper files now that you can listen to it. So if you do find a tape and you need it converted, I'm your man to get Genius Id back out in the public domain.
Can't even find the band members, let alone the tape. I know. So I know where one of them is because he's also my former brother-in-law. So I've not actually lost him. But band name. We could end on band names, couldn't we? So yeah, mine was the Genius Id. You've got an interesting band name story, haven't you, Gwilym?
Yeah, I think I've done it before. But it's the Barry Triffid Quintet, simply because I couldn't find a name that hadn't been done before. So I just decided that couldn't have been. And as you know, it's now become my Facebook name. So, and I book Uber through Facebook. So when they get in an Uber, I have to say, hello, I'm Barry.
And what was your mob then, Kevin?
We had the worst name, honestly. It's embarrassing, but it was called Strawberry Blondes.
Okay.
But if you go on Spotify, you can actually find Strawberry Blondes songs.
Yeah, I've never used Spotify.
Yeah. Or any other good music streaming platform.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. You don't strike me as a natural blonde.
No, definitely not. But I have no idea who came up with the name or why. But there we go. That's what it was.
I'm conscious. We're just waffling, aren't we? I probably should bring this to a close, Gwilym, I think. Oh, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure having you on. Gwilym, as ever, thank you for co-hosting with me. If you've listened to this one and found it remotely interesting and enjoyable, then obviously leave us a little review somewhere, and that'll encourage other people to find us, hopefully. Kevin, I'll see you shortly somewhere, I'm sure. And Gwilym, I'll see you on the next one, mate.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks both.